This is the season of amplification. This is a special season for those who grew in their reverence for God while going through the turmoil of the COVID pandemic. You are now in position for a level change. And when I say a level change, it's not a level up, but a level of depth. See, it's an Eurocentric perspective to think the higher you go in life, the closer to God you become. But in ancient African wisdom, it tells us that it is the depth of your knowledge, the depth of your wisdom, the depth of your understanding, and how you allow it to live through you in your actions that gives you the opportunity to get behind the veil where God exists. This is a special season for those who have a healthy fear in God and not in a COVID mutation or a variant that continues to put restraints on our old way of living. Because in the depth of our understanding, we know that change is imminent, and our ability to adapt to change will reflect on how we fulfill God's purpose in our lives. We are still on mission, regardless of the COVID pandemic. This season of amplification is a special season for those who spent God's currency wisely. And that's that extra time we were given to spend in our household, to fortify our relationships with our families, that extra time we had to edify our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, so we become more prepared to walk in this new beginning. This is a special season. See, the number 22 is considered a master number because it duplicates and amplifies divine energy. At this moment in time, for the next 365 days, you are getting double the strength, double the creativity, double the protection, double the drive and determination, double the love. This season of amplification, yes, you are made ready for your spiritual breakthrough of 22. Everything is in your reach, but it's still up to you to go get it.
God has not promised me sunshine. That's not the way it's going to be. But a little rain mixed with love a little pain makes me appreciate the good times. Be grateful. Be grateful. God desires to fill your longing, every pain that you feel, He fills them just like you. But He can't afford to let you feel only good. Then you can appreciate the good times. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Because there's someone now who's worse off than you. Be grateful. Cause there's someone out there who would love to be in your shoes. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Anybody grateful? Be grateful. I'm Anybody in the house grateful? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Be grateful. Oh, be. Oh, somebody need to take this message home. Say, be. Oh, be grateful. See, He didn't have to wake you up this morning. Be. See, He didn't have to start you on your way. Say, be. He didn't have to wake you up in your right mind. Say, be. Somebody woke up and didn't have the activity of their limbs. Oh, oh, that's why I'm grateful. Somebody woke up and couldn't talk this morning. Hey, somebody woke up and couldn't brush their teeth this morning. Hey, somebody woke up and couldn't see this morning. Hey, so be. Simple message says, be grateful. For it will be alright. Anybody know it's gonna be alright? Anybody grateful because you know it's gonna be alright? Hallelujah!
Oh, come on, you gotta.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing? How you doing? Be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. Coming definitely in the spirit of gratitude today. Uh had a long weekend, had a long morning. But I'm definitely in the spirit of gratitude for all the opportunities that this new year is bringing. Don't know what's coming. I just know that as I walk every step, I will be grateful in each step, and that's despite COVID and what seems to be the changing of seasons, because you know that the world will never. Everybody's waiting for the world to be the same. The world will never be the same. COVID is never going away. It's just like the version of the flu. It'll change every year. And so they will always be giving you booster shots, right? So my issue is I'm not worried about what happens out there. I'm worried about what's happening on the inside of me, because whatever's happening on the inside of me will allow me to do the things that I need to do in the world and the time in which God has me in. And I'm definitely grateful. We have, I know in our community, it's like a generational transition. We had quite a few people transition over, and we have a homegoing ceremony next week. Definitely going to be a part of that. So, I will be there. So we may not have Saturday class. We'll have Sunday, but we may not have Saturday. Um, and then just staying in the moment, with the Creator. I'm staying in the moment with my ancestors, staying in the moment with myself, being grateful at every second, every nanosecond, which is faster than a blink. Staying in the moment with my family, my community, with my people. Just being grateful. When I heard the song after the New Year's theme video, and I was looking, and all of a sudden I come across this song, and it had me, and I was like into that song completely. I was like, wow, this is something that we need in the times that we're in, so that we can manifest, we can take advantage of that 22. That number 22 that you're going to see entire year. You got to start with the spirit of gratitude. Woo, spirit. We're going to deal with the issue of spirit today. But you got to start in that spirit of gratitude, being thankful for every little thing. Because if you listen to the intro, the theme intro, it says that there is extra energy and extra spirit, divine energy waiting for you. Now, when it says divine energy, that means it's only coming for those who have realized who they are in God. Or you searching for yourself in God, not for if you searching for yourself, just for yourself, it's not there. You still running off of what you run off of, which is your standard. But those who have been faithful and been had a state of gratitude, been grateful, um, stayed focused, and is kept pushing. Yeah, there's a lot waiting for us, and so that's why what we're going to talk about. What we're going to talk about today. Uh, but before we get started, I want to please make sure that if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell, because we have so many different programs that go on. We want to make sure that you see all the programs. If you're watching us on Facebook, well, let's do it again. Please like, comment, share. Always like, comment, share, so that we can get this word out. We can get the experience out. Um, Always, because on Sundays, always we're Keebalan, Inspirational Sunday. Every Sunday at noon, we're always here. If you looking for to participate on the inside, yes, this is the year I'm going to be opening my next door up. I'm opening up next door. I'm opening up next door. I'm actually going to try to make it to the meeting after this, to an adult service meeting, so I can invite the grandparents over, so we can have one of them conversations. Yes, with them joining in. So we want to make sure that if you like that, please send me an email at info@waatl.org, so that you can participate in the in-house conversations. Wait. And then I don't know, this one needed to be adjusted, but I can't adjust it now. Also, we have these other programs, which is, of course, you have Inspirational Sunday at noon on Tuesdays. You have the African Speaks that comes on at 7 p.m. Thursdays, you have AfroStream that comes on at 6:37 p.m., which is about African news and getting that information out. African Speaks are deep topics that we discuss. Last week was Afrofuturism. Yes, Afrofuturism. And so I'm thinking about doing the critical race theory this week. We're gonna see. Then also we have the African history. Man, I got a lot of feedback on this African history class this past Saturday. Uh, if y'all missed it, y'all missed something. Make sure y'all there next week at 1 o'clock. Well, next week we may not do it because we have a homegoing ceremony that they're talking to me and asking me to live stream. So we might be live streaming instead of doing African history class as well as African spirituality class. But we will see. I might do something at night. We can change it like that because that's what we can do. Uh, but as we continue and as we move forward, I want to let you know. Okay, you're gonna watch me shrink to the smaller area, right? I love the graphics live streaming. All right, we're gonna make that happen. Everything that we talk about here on the Inspirational Sunday is a foundation of the ancient covenant promise that we have with the Creator, that He will be our God if we will be His people. But God has always kept His part. Our part is becoming the people of God and knowing what that means and living it out. A lot of people say, we talk about the covenant promise, a lot of churches, a lot of programs, but they don't live the covenant promise. And living the covenant promise is about relationships, right? And it's a relationship that we have with the Creator. It's the relationships that we have with our ancestors. It's the relationships that we have with self. It's the relationship that we have with each other. It's based on relationships. And it says two most greatest commandment: love thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul, and thy brother as thyself. When you can love your people, love someone other than you, just like you love you. Now, and for me, my understanding is that we're not supposed to be sitting here getting along in a systematic racism. No, we're supposed to be coming together to build something for ourselves as a people, something that gives us a real sense of dignity, where you can have a sense of self determination about who we are. And I know, and so for that's why we adapted the slogan, the phrase, and the mission of the rise of the African, a social media pan-African movement where we're trying to bring black youth, black parents, anybody who's trying to build an existence for black people, the diaspora over. And I know for me, this is the part that I can play. And so I'm playing my part, which is creating the experience as the executive director of the world of Alkebulan and the minister of the world of Alkebulan, a teacher within the world of Alkebulan, and a member of the PAOCC. This is what I can give. And so I give it to the best of my ability. I do exactly what I can and bring it forward. Why? Because we are trying to bring about the unification of the African diaspora. Wait, that wasn't even supposed to be that big. I'm supposed to be making that small so you can see the African diaspora. And we talk about that in African with the African speaks of how many people are dispersed throughout the globe, throughout the world of African descent. And what would it mean? Because if you think that we're the only ones subjected to systematic oppression and racism, you're wrong. Look at the multitude of us who may be affected by colonialism or the mark of slavery. Let us change that. Let the rise of the African begin here at home. Now, of course, that takes us tapping into a higher frequency of vibrations or spiritual awareness of who we are as a people. And that was the reason behind the when I well the revelation is what I'm looking for. The revelation of this time that we're in. The spiritual breakthrough of 22, where we're getting double portion of God energy and God's spirit. A double portion of God's energy, God's spirit. It happens. And I had someone call me and was like, she was like, brother, I had to look up 22. I had to look up the spiritual meaning of 22. That harmony, that balance, that extra dose. And I smiled because I was like, wow, sister listening and sister's looking it up. And she's like, it motivated her. She said, I'm sharing it. I'm taking it in my meetings. And I had to actually email her the video so that she could share it with the greater community. And so what we're trying to do in this new season, this season of amplification, where we can access more energy, access more power. We got to understand that it's about the spirit. It's not about the mind. It's not about the body. People talk about, oh, I need to lose weight. Okay, as long as that is tapping into a deeper spiritual thing, because it's not physical that's going to get us through. It's that spiritual discipline that we have to know ourselves, that spiritual health. And so we want to always acknowledge that we're dealing with the issue of continuity, the continuing of everything. The time, God doesn't stop time and restart it again. Like we say, oh, I'm going to stop this and no, time continues. It never ends. It's infinite, infinite. So we come out of one season directly into the next, and we take the blessings and lessons and everything we've learned and everything that we went through, and that was whether it was hardships or was just straight up a favor, God's favor. We take it all and we move into that next series, which is what we're in. That next second, that nanosecond. That next sentence, we said, if you was listening to African spirituality, one of the most important is 4 levels of focus in African spirituality. And one of the things is the Hantu. It's most important is how we, as African people, how we see time. We see it in 2 forms, which is the Sasa and the Zamani. And the continuity, when we're talking about we're going to continue the positive energy that came from our Zamani, our history, into our Sasa, our now. And so we say we don't, and then Africans don't look no more than two years in the future, because in ancient African culture, when in ancient African spirituality, there's no chronological time. They didn't have clocks. They just knew that and they connected time according to special events, but they continued the spirit of God in everything they did, every blessing. They just praised their way through all things. That's how they were able to give so much to the planet and the world. And if you don't know what we gave, you should be joining us African history class, right? So now, an African spirituality class. But now today, we were talking about our topic, the breakthrough of 22, feeding the spirit. Ooh, feeding the spirit. Ain't that something? And I sat down and I said, we came out of the holiday, we still in our holiday season, because our holiday season goes until Pentecost season. So it starts in with the first fruits, Rams of Moshe, and it goes all the way to Pentecost season, and then we walk into the days of ordinary times, is how we label it, because there's no special holy days, but every day is holy. Every day is holy. And that's what, African spirituality is. There is no day that you don't celebrate to your fullest extent your experience in God. And then that's when you talk about feeding the spirit. Because we are going through issues right now. We're going through, and they talk about how mental health is on the rise. Depression is on the rise, not only with adults, but with children. Yes, you, with the kids, you. On the rise. And so how do you keep up? How do you stay up? You got to understand that certain things happen. But that is a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual deficiency. And if it's gotten to you, that means you needed fortification somewhere. You needed some support somewhere, which is spiritual. Because everything is a manifestation. Your whole reality is a manifestation of how you see yourself spiritually. And that's why it's important for us. It's deeply important for us that we indulge in the culture of who we are, right? So, recently, and if y'all been watching, y'all know that we've been talking about the makeup of the body temple that we are, cellular wise, the makeup, and how the God code, how God on every second we're living is creating a code in us that creates who we are. According also, and that's why I said we're co-creators with God. We're helping him with the code, but that code in your DNA is always changing, is always releasing new information. And they don't know where the information comes from. And it's a source. I'm not like, a nanosecond just passed. I'm not the same I was a nanosecond ago. Forget a day ago. A nanosecond. Everything is always changing. A follicle of hair is always growing. That's a nanosecond, right? As I get older, my eyes diminish. Some people, they as they get older, they get stronger, they get taller, right? Some people get plumper. That's the coding. That's the God code. And in that God code is forever changing. And so we wanted to know the sacredness. We said this is where God resides. God resides within us. Within us. And so that part we have to get. And we said, we talk about it. I don't have the graphics ready, but of the old. Well, y'all don't even tell y'all my morning. Everything shut down. I had to create the whole experience from scratch this morning. Yes, all graphics that you see in the day was created this morning, put back together because I saved something in the wrong file and it messed everything up. And I got up, I looked at it. Something said, "Get up and take a look." I don't know what was, again, the spirit in me driving me, the God code, me hearing it, listening, interacting. Why? Because this is the temple that God resides in with me. Woo. So when I got up and I opened everything up, I said, wait a minute, what happened? I had to rebuild it all. All. So when we talk about so I say that to say that I don't have it when that image that I had when we were talking about the mind of the heart over the holidays, where everything has to come here, not here, but here. The mind of the heart, your level of God consciousness has to come here. And we're going to talk about that because we know now in this generation, they call it, y'all, the woke generation, right? Where you are more socially aware. Now that doesn't mean that we understand that God consciousness, but we do understand the fact that that black consciousness, that in this environment in which we live in, this is not an environment for us. This is not an environment for you to be whole. Why? Because we watch that the social injustices, and just because it's not on the news anymore doesn't mean that the systems change. And that's what we got to get. The government didn't change over. The police station didn't change over. The hospitals didn't change over. The judicial system didn't change over. There's a whole school system didn't change over. Things just didn't change. So if you don't see it, doesn't mean that it's not there. So they said that we're the woke generation. We're in a woke generation where young kids are more socially conscious than they've ever been. Ain't that something? Your consciousness. And that's the mind of the mind. You know what I'm saying? That's the concepts of the brain. It's what you're thinking, but then the issue is what you're feeling. That's that subconsciousness. That's a deeper, because the true power in you, now knowing that black consciousness is great. Black consciousness is great. It's like it's hard for me to make friends who are not black conscious. It's hard. They always talk about what's your in relationships, they talk about what is it when oh man, when you what is that, where they is it you see where I've been, I ain't been in a relationship in a minute. Uh when relationships don't work and you just can't take it no more, and you just, okay, it's over. For me, it's black consciousness. For me, yeah, black consciousness and woo, and it almost came in my head when it jumps in, and understanding your spiritual self. Woo. Understanding your spiritual self. That's a whole different level. The most powerful you. The most powerful you is your spiritual self, not your physical self. It's that energy within you. And so, what's my spiritual self? There's two. You got two selves right here. You got two. There are two yous with you. Yes, two. Wait. And so the two yous with you is that physical self and that spiritual self. It's that body, right? That body that needs food, clothes, and shelter. You need air, sun, you need water. That's the body. The body needs certain things to function, right? You got that muscle, you work out, you get your muscles. You get old, you get your gray. That's your physical self. But then you have that spiritual self. That self that is correct connected directly to God. That's that energy source. That's that spiritual self. That's like soul. When people say soul, yeah, it's like that. It is the part of you that is intangible. It is the part of you that cannot be touched, but it can be felt. It can be experienced. We talk a lot of times. We talk. Have you ever walked in a room and you was in a room and somebody walked in a room and you could tell that they were angry? They didn't say a word. You could feel it. Spirit. You ever watch somebody? Greed is a spirit that you can watch somebody eat, and they just eating just so much, right? Spiritual self. When somebody, regardless of what's happening, always has a smile, spiritual self. And we got to watch how we manifest, or how we allow that spiritual self to be, because we are co-creators with God, and so we are working on our spiritual self. Because I realized when I created the video and I was watching the video, and certain individuals talking to me, certain individuals didn't have a great haven't had a great season since COVID, because they couldn't get past the physical restraints of what COVID gave. Not the fact that being in gratitude that, hey, we still here. There are things that we can do with each other. We interacting with our families, social media. We trying to connect more. We're giving more positive energy on an infinite environment, because the internet is energy. How what we give across within that field of energy will also say what we get back. Isn't that something? A field of energy. They said the most energy that goes crazy on the internet is negative energy. If you want to say something outrageous and negative, you will get a lot of feedback. Why? Because most people exist on that spiritual realm. I had a friend of mine tell me, she said, anytime I post something positive or post something of God, I get few posts. But if I post up with my clothes and just fashion and just showing myself, everybody wants to say something. I said, ain't that something? It shows what is. I had another friend who, and I popped up this morning on my YouTube feed. She's been struggling trying to create a Facebook YouTube thing, and it was nice. And then the next thing you know, she's online with a bathing suit, and she went from a few hundred viewers to over 20,000. Again, spiritual. Are you selling your energy out? What we present and what we give is a representation of who we are. Our Facebook pages and our Instagram pages and our TikTok pages and our Snapchat pages are biographies of our spiritual selves. Most people don't even get that. You're going to get, if you are negative energy, you're going to draw negative energy. Why? Because everything is in the vibration. Whew. When we talk about that, everything is in vibration. Oh man, I thought I did that away. Let's see if we can find that and redo that. Find that, restart. There we go. Everything is in vibration. That's what I was looking for. All of our organs have a frequency. Every organ and part of us has a frequency. Attitude is a frequency. Everything is energy. And in how you take care of that energy, and this when we dealing with mental health. Mental health is a state of spiritual health. Physical health is a state of spiritual health. Everything is spiritual based first. What? How is that, brother Ajay? Because if and we'll get it. Eating, this is a part of the lesson up. So we deal with physical. When you work out too much, you get all bulky and there's nothing in your head, nothing between your ears, hollow. But when you're working out because you want to match mind, body, and spirit, power. The true power of who you are is the spiritual you, because you could lose a limb and still have awareness. One of the most beautiful stories, right, was mine of Ayan, my daughter. when she was having seizures because of her lupus, was eating her brain and her spine. And she kept telling me, Daddy, I got to fight from the inside. And I didn't understand what was going on until the seizure started. She said, I could feel something wrong. Spiritual awareness. I could feel something that's not happening right, Daddy. I don't know what it is. I'm like, but I'm fighting from the inside. Like she was suppressed. She could say that things ain't working right, but I'm trying to hold it together. So when we found out that the lupus was eating her spine and her brain because she couldn't start walking, and she sporadic thoughts, she couldn't sleep. It was eating her brain, right? And so we took her to the hospital, and she had seizures in the hospital. And in that, having a seizure, your body freezes up. And you come out, and sometimes you don't even know you had a seizure. Not her. She had a seizure, and I called her name because I was trying to, Ayan, and I don't know where she looked. She was had a seizure. And when she looked at me, I was like, wow. She saw me, and then she started, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? And she said, I'm fighting from the inside out, Daddy. The doctors and the nurses were awed because they never seen somebody with a seizure, having a seizure, milly whop their way out of it. She came out of it milly whopping, and she was freestyle rhyming when she was doing it. I was like, what is this? She said, I said, where'd you get the skills from? And I'm talking rhyme skills, right? She was talking spiritual skills because she said, Daddy, I told you I'm fighting from within. I'm in here mustering up. I was like, wow. I'm in here mustering up energy. And she said, but I don't know how long I can do it. Frequency. The most powerful you is the spiritual part, the part of you that people cannot physically touch, but they can feel. And the moment that you can tap into that spirit you, everything around you begins to change. Why? Because you create a gravitational field to you. And this is this lesson. Wow, we're gonna teach this because we're gonna go over because I have not got into this yet. No, we have not even touched this before. The gravitational field. There is something called spiritual magneticism. Whoa. Spiritual magneticism, meaning that whatever frequency you vibrate on, you will either pull something towards you or push something away from you. Spiritual magnetism, it's the positive and negative in your atoms. Woo, let's talk about it because we did this one. We did this. Every atom, you got over 3 billion atoms in you, positive and negative charged, right? And the more you contact it to that positive and the negative, you can push positive out to pull positive back, or you can push out negativity to pull negativity towards you. We have a spiritual magneticism that creates the environment that is around us. And the more positive you are, the more spiritually aware you are, the higher frequency you vibrate at, the more it reflects in the things around you. Now, some of us are vibrating at a high frequency, right? Some of us at certain areas and points in our lives, but then there's certain areas and points in our lives that are lacking. And sometimes you don't, when you are high energy, you don't know what's lacking sometimes. How can you tell? By what is attracted to you. And I had a conversation with someone, and I tried to explain that there is something that you're missing, that you're always pulling towards you, individuals that don't vibe on your level in terms of what you're looking for. Maybe what you're looking for is not what you should be looking for, so you need to look at that list. It may not be something that you are doing physically or consciously, but it might be something that you're doing unconsciously that you don't know. Maybe it's something that you think is good for you that is really not good for you. You have to reassess that because there is something called spiritual magneticism. And we don't get that. People always at the New Year saying, well, I'm going to walk away from negative people. That's not what you do. Because if you vibrate, we spoke about this, if you vibrate at a higher frequency, that negative energy that comes towards you it will either bounce back or You can change the frequency of those who walk in your atmosphere. Have you ever been around somebody who was just straight up happy all the time, and or laughing, that infectious laugh when you tell a joke and you can't stop laughing and you cracking up and everybody just laughing with you? Why? Because that's spiritual magneticism. We draw the energy near. And it was funny. One sister that I was speaking to her, and I remember, we're gonna say a name online, right? And so she was like, "Look, brother," she was just fresh out of a relationship. She was going through a change, and she says, "This is what I do. I shut my doors to work on myself." Right? Everything is about relationships. You got to know how much you want to love you, so that you could love someone else. You got to love you. Like, and now, if you don't love you, you know when you don't love you, how you mistreat yourself, you mistreating other people. But if you love you, then you're gonna pull towards you what works with that vibration. If you're fine tuned the right way, right? Spiritual magneticism. And so she said, I opened my doors, and it was when we first met, the first time we met, we became good friends. She said, I wanted to see who you were because you're the first person that gravitated to me in this space where I'm working on me. So I said, I need to see who you are so that I can see who I am. Who did I pull toward me? I was like, wow. Wow. Spiritual magneticism. And it took me some years as I began to digest it. This is the first time I'm talking about this. And this is going to come up again because I'm going to dive heavy into this, right? So now, how does that work? So we're going to go into how does spiritual magneticism work? Now, this video I have is not a long video, right? Let me see if I can switch it over and stop it so that you could see what it is. Let's fade it in. Spiritual magneticism is based off of behavior. Wait, we're gonna get back. We're gonna get it back. Right? I gotta find the video. There we go. So I need to control this. Pause. Now. Well, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back a little bit. We're gonna go back a little bit. We are energy beings. Woo! Physical, right? So the black is the physical you. And your behavior in terms of whatever spirit you're walking in. Because if you're in the spirit of gratitude, there's humbleness. If you're spirit of forgiveness, there's certain behaviors you have, right? If you're in the spirit of compassion, there's a certain spirit that you walk. There's certain behaviors that you have. And when you're in those spirits, right, the things about you that people can't see. So you can be angry, mad, or whatever it is. When you're in those spirits, there are other spirits that lurk around. And some of these spirits can be seen, and some of these spirits are in other people. Again, these are the parts of you that you can't touch. And these are the things that you can't see. In African spirituality, they say calamity is of God. But they said that there's certain things that are due to spirit. Certain calamity that comes your way is attested to spiritual beings that exist amongst us. Not only because we are spiritual beings, there's a part of us and we attach that. So when somebody's walking in a certain spirit, when you talk about discerning the spirit, being able to see how they walk. Now, it's the behavior sometimes, right? So with your behavior, your behavior attracts spiritual energy. It's drawn to you. And it's going to be there. It's going to be there. According to who you are, it's going to be there. So how do you vibrate will determine what is magnetically drawn to you spiritually. Wow. Yeah, I haven't done this one. Spiritual magneticism. So you got to learn, be careful of how you feed your spirit. Feeding the spirit to access this breakthrough. People want to understand, how can I get this? How can I get that double proportion of 22? How can I get that? How can I be on the same vibration that God needs me to be on so that I can do what God has called me to do? How can I get that? You got to check your behaviors. You got to be careful. Now, the thing is, as you continue, those spirits has come to you, vibe around you, and they agree with if they agree with your positive or your negative. So this is either positive or negative. It doesn't matter. Positive or negative energy, spirits comes. You right there. Right? And if you continue, and we talked about the double proportion, If you continue with the behaviors, in terms of whether good or bad, what happens? More will show up. More behavior, more energy, more come and they vibe with you. Wow. So, what energy, what spirit are you walking in? How are you feeding it? What are you, wow, let's go. It's about time to go. What are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you talking about? What are you posting? Right? All of it. All of it. What are you eating? Wow. Ooh, we could talk about that. What are you eating? All of that feeds the spirit. So, how can food feed the spirit? Because there's a phrase where you're talking about eating live food versus eating dead food. Do I eat some dead food? Yes, sometimes. Yes, I eat dead food. Do I eat live food? Absolutely. Live food is raw. Raw food. There are weeks that I go straight up vegan, straight vegan. Why? Because the essence of the food is still living. It's still live. It has more energy in it. And so as I eat it, that energy is dispersed in my body, more nutrients, more vitamins, more minerals, everything. It's all there. And that adds to the vibration of me. Where do you get this energy, man? Yeah, I can say it's a part of the diet. It's a part of my sleep. It's a part of my meditation. It's a part of everything. Spiritual energy. And so we got to get that. I'm so far ahead of myself right now. Look at that. Woo! They just right there. Right there. Ain't that something? So now the issue is, in terms of dealing with the spirit, wow, I used to say this phrase all the time, being spirit fed to be spirit led. Wow. Meaning everything I do is about me feeding my spiritual self. Period. Almost. We'll say that, be honest with myself, because there's some things that I do does not feed into a stronger spirit. But my awareness of my spiritual self allows me to know when I'm doing right or righteousness and wrong. And that positive energy will create a magnetic field that draws more to you. Right? And so spirituality is important. People say, I choose religion over spirituality. It's like one of the same. People, stop it. Organized religion, it's still one of the same. People, stop it. In Africa, there's 52, if there's 4,200 different African tribes, there's 42 different versions of spirituality. But that tribe's behavior within that spiritual system in which that tribe lives, that spiritual system, and if you missing African spirituality class, you need to show up Saturdays at 2 p.m., 2 o'clock. You got to be there, 2 o'clock. And so spirituality is a full process. Full processes, and so what is their religion, what is their religious beliefs, how they're expressing that the part of them that you cannot touch, and that is spiritual, but it happens in your physical behaviors. So spirituality, the being, what is spirituality? Being in the present moment, or your sasa. Woo. Africans talk about that is the most important thing to creator, what you do at that second. Promising God you're doing something tomorrow is not cool. I'll do it tomorrow, God. I'll do it next year, God. I'm putting it off. You're telling God, I'm wasting your time, the time that I'm giving you, that God is giving you. Whoa, you can't do that. Every moment, every second. That's why I would say, if you can teach a child or the younger generation how to respect their time where they're giving God their best at every second, they will have the most powerful life ever. Mm. The meaning and purpose of spirituality is the meaning and purpose in the things that you value, that we value. Yes. What do you value? I value my culture, my heritage. I value black youth. I value my family, my community. I value my race. I value the world. You know, I value my talent, my skill, my intellect, certain things, and that I give back to the creator. I don't use it for myself. I use it to everything that everything to manifest a greater life for all. Why? Because I am literally the father of humanity. Every male, every black man, the father of humanity. This is who we are descendants of. And so we're supposed to be able to rise to a particular area in life where we can lead our children, which is all the other races, to a better state of living. I value the covenant promise. And that's the work I put out. Spirituality is the search for inner freedom, well-being, and the peace of mind. And that's like the state of self-awareness. Wow. That's African history, African spirituality, African, it's all of that. The state of self-awareness, not who how you see yourself in the eyes of the society in which we live. No, because society don't want us to know how good we are and how powerful we are. But it's how you see yourself in the eyes of God. How your people have seen themselves and the things they were able to create. Mm. Gives you peace of mind that you are walking with something higher than you. And that's how you see it. That's the other one. Spirituality is the experience of living, flourishing, and finding hope in the midst of circumstances. How do you have more time at home with your family and your kids, but you come out even more negative? That ain't a strong sense of spirituality. It's a good sense of you. How do you know that there's COVID out there and you going around and you interacting with folk and then people getting sick, sharing other people's sickness? Ah, it ain't nothing. You denouncing people. That ain't spirituality. That's you. So it doesn't matter the situation and circumstances, finding that light, a light in a place of darkness where things might be difficult, hard, you can't do what you want to do, but what can you do at this moment? What is the opportunity God is giving you at this second? That's Sasa. Right. Regardless of your circumstances, finding a way to glow and love yourself through it. Yes. Because those circumstances create a stronger sense of you. Spirituality is loving relationships with self, with others, and something beyond. That having that sense of belonging. And that's what our issue is in the States because it's hard. They said COVID affects individuals with pre-existing circumstances, pre-existing medical conditions. As a people, we live like this in a country that we don't feel like we belong completely. They give us more freedom so we can walk around and interact with each other. But there's no true feeling of belonging when you sit down and you look at how we are being, treated in all the institutions that govern our state of being. No person should worry about food, clothes, and shelter. Ain't that something? If you African history class, you'd realize the greatest kingdoms and civilizations that birthed knowledge and wisdom to the earth, which was African. No one, there was no homelessness. Right. No one, everybody ate. Everybody had food, clothes, and shelter. Everybody. And people could share in the work of increasing community. That's communalism, not capitalism, where it's about you. We got to be careful. And so spirituality has come so important that it is as important, it should be, as every other means that you use to take care of yourself. Every other means, because you have physical health, you have mental health, you have emotional health. But then one thing that can feed into all things is that spiritual health. That coming in contact with the God in you, taking that time, taking that moment just to be still inside yourself to figure out, wait a minute. And now they said figure out how to get to a better, more powerful you. The most powerful you is your spiritual self, not the physical, not the mental, not the emotional. Your spiritual self will feed all the other ones. So you tap into that, you tapping into something. I know for me, when we're talking about spiritual selves, right? And what can you do to get to that point? And this is how important they said they're starting to in certain schools, or I don't know anymore because of COVID, because we having people coming in and out. I don't know how they're doing it now. They started using meditation and yoga for kids who had personality issues. If you're always disrupting the class, yes, that's a spirit of disruption. It's not good. So now everybody's disrupted because you have the higher frequency. Not cool. And so they try to get you to tap into the energy that's actually in the room where you're learning. Mm. So they said, let us get them to tap within to themselves. And so meditating and teaching kids how to meditate has become a practice. I know for me, when we talk about practices to get to a stronger spiritual you for me, and this is what I do. Every morning I wake up saying thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you to the Creator. I say a prayer before I get out of bed. Literally. I don't even speak sometimes. It's like, then when I get out of bed after saying a prayer and interacting with God, my ancestors, and myself to see how I feel, what's going on, my thoughts, I let them pass. Then I go light incense. I get up early enough to go light incense, and I put incense and I bless every room. I put an incense in every room. So right now it's one, two, three, four, five rooms that I burn incense on. Yeah, five. And so I buy incense all the time. And so that fragrance is reminding me of the sweetness of life. Woo. The sweetness of this journey all the time. And then I offer my space. I bless my space. And I offer my space to those ancestors and those spirits that walk with me. Let this be a place of harmony and peace for you to exist in and influence me in a positive way. I do that every day. Every day. People talk about how they run out into the world because they rush and run out to the world. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to go. Even if you're rushing mentally, you can be given thanks for the ability to rush. See, there's all ways to feed that spirit. Everything is that spiritual self. When we talk about movements, it's yoga. People work out for that energy. I work out and I do yoga. Breathing, it's all spiritual, feeding into my spiritual self, not my physical. It's the spiritual self. And then you talk about your diet. There was one conversation I remember someone having saying that, your diet is a reflection, your body is a reflection of your spiritual awareness of how important you believe your body is. It's a spiritual self. Being obese is a spiritual deficiency. There's something lacking where you the issue of greed. I want more than my body can handle. So I distort it. Spiritual self. Tap into it. That don't mean everybody's meant to be skinny. No. There's some people who are meant to be healthy and thick. That's it. Healthy and thick. As an African brother, thick is my preference. I think everybody in my life know that. You know. And then there's for me, I take supplements, right? Vitamins to make sure that whatever foods that I'm eating, if they don't have enough of the nutrients I'm in, I have those supplements that God gives. And then you have those herbs. And I'm just tapping into my knowledge and wisdom on the medicine of God. Just the medicine of God. I just started tapping into it. So I take more herbs now. I have a tea that I make. I have a friend who she's a herbalist and she knew everything. She creates a COVID tonic and her mom is a nurse. And anytime I got COVID, it's going to, according to these herbs that she makes, 2 days. I said, look, I need that recipe. She sent me her recipe, and it's just like you gotta take like medicine every 2 hours to heal yourself, to grow, to develop. Yes, and that's deep. Oh, I can't see it, Imani. Oh, in such a case, that's cool. And so that's important. You know that the medicine of God, because God said He is a sustainer. God will sustain all his creation. If God sustains the forest, the trees, he keeps the water in where the water is, the fish keep eating, things keep growing, why wouldn't he not create things to sustain you? Spiritual self, you got to know that. You got to know that. Oh, I want to eat candy. Candy is destructive to you. Ayan didn't know what candy was, and I think till she was like 3 years old, 3, 4 years old, she thought grapes were candy. Oh, you want some candy? Yes, daddy. And we eat grapes. She ate fruit. She thought fruit was candy because fruit is God's, it's nature's candy. That's it. She had it all the time. And then the first time my mom let her go trick or treating, Halloween, I'm like, Lord, okay. She got candy and it changed her life. Funny. But those are the things that I do in terms of eating. And then, of course, is what you read. I'm always studying. I read, some, I love comic books too, but I haven't collected a comic book. But I read the news, I read sports, I read everything. But I get the consciousness in me. It's how I can teach the classes, how I can grow, how I can develop. And then the music. Music you listen to is feeds into your spiritual self. And then, so what are you listening to? Are you listening to trap music? You're not at your most powerful state. The most powerful state breathes into you. Life. And then this nature. Why? Because nature, you get closer to God. You're at harmony with nature, harmony with God. They talk about when you are lining yourself up with the Spirit of God, you will see insects respond to you. For me, I have two insects. Look up what this means. It's for you. My insects are bees and spiders. Look that up and see what it spiritually means. And it'll tell you the energy in which I'm walking in, right? Because it told me I had researched it. So if you see particular animals, when you start gravitating toward nature in your awareness, you could look around nature and see what vibrates towards you. And when you see something that vibrates towards you, that means, oh, you're harmonizing with nature. You're getting there. You're getting there. If animals gravitate towards you, because animals don't know how not to vibrate at a high frequency of God. They don't. All they know how to do is just be who they are, which is what God did. And we have the power of choice. That's why we have can have a roller coaster of energy, but we don't want that. We want to be able to do what we can, because now, and it was one thing that I did this past week was I take the time to see my black youth, our community, as it should be, not as it is, but as it should be. So every day that I give God the energy that I can. So what can I do to get us to where we need to be? And so all the time I see us as vibrating, glowing energy beings, connected to one another spiritually, connected to God and our ancestors. We're at a point where we glow. It's just we glow. And so it's futuristic. I know it's cartoonish. Afrofuturism, we talked about it last week, but this is where we vibrate. When you see, they said Malcolm X, when they walked in the room, it was just like a oh. And people would just look like, oh, wow, that was him. That was him. When you see people walk in a room, Michael Jackson made people pass out because he was in tuned to who he was as an entertainer. I am music. That's all he knew. I am music. Now, how does that relate to it? And I wish he would have had the conversation. How does that relate to who you are in God and what God poured into you? He said, I don't know anything else about me, but what God did for me is music that I know. I am. And you couldn't tell him he wasn't. And so people would pass out because they came across someone who vibrated at a certain frequency. Now, the issue is, can you do that? No, you should be doing that. You should be accessing the most powerful form of you, which is the part of you that people can't touch. Let your imagination grow inside you to see the God in you and how strong, how smart, how fast, how caring, how loving, everything about who you are. You have to feed your spirit to get there. Feed your spirit, and you will be able to walk on water. Wow, doing the impossible. Meaning giving the world something in black people that they haven't seen in centuries. A dominant Godfidence, and not confidence, but Godfidence race, where all of our understanding comes from our connection to the Creator. Yes, for me, I'm using Worlds of Alkebulan as that vehicle to bring about that experience of higher spiritual awareness to my people. And if it could happen for the youngest of us, that means we can have a generation that walks in power, regardless of how it looks. To have a generation that walks in power. And if you see that energy, yeah, imagine you being able to take that energy, kids, taking that energy to everything that you do. Not just play, but build. That's when you know you're feeding the spirit. So this 22, where God has given a double portion of his energy to those who are walking or trying to walk in line to who he would have you be, go get it. And you're going to see what you create even more. Example, when I woke up and everything about all this that you see today, all of it was gone and I had to recreate it at scratch. And I sat down and I did some meditations in reference to having the ancestors who are focused and the ancestors who get the job done to walk with me and spend the weekend with me. And so that I can stay focused and get the job done. And then when this happened, I didn't spaz out. I was focused and I got the job done. You have to be able to increase your frequency and your awareness of your spiritual magneticism and see what you draw to you. If you're not drawing to you what you want, then that means you got to do a little bit more. God requires you to do a little, and sometimes it's different for all of us. It's different for all of us because we don't all have the same life assignment or the same responsibilities to carry. Like everybody in my church can't do this. Everybody in my community can't do this. I can. So I do it. Whether you ask me to do it or not, I know what I'm called to do, so I get it done. And it's funny because they will sit down and say, oh, we don't even have to worry about what's happening with Ajay. Why? Because Ajay is always going to do what Ajay is going to do. Why? Because of the frequency that I said I wanted to focus on. I want to see what life looks like when I get older. Like I'm not there now. When I get 100, I want to see the kids that I was able to tap into and steer them to their confidence at the earliest of ages. I want to see that generation, the confidence generation. That generation that walks in the confidence of African history, the confidence of African spirituality, the confidence of Black reality, the confidence of everything, the Black ingenuity and Black genius, the confidence of mathematics, science, technology, agriculture, the arts, the confidence of all of it. And I want to see what that world produces. That's the world of Alkebulan. That's where we're going. Yeah. Today, we're asking you to tap into the power of your spiritual self. And the way you can start that is by being grateful. One love.
Praise him like you're grateful. Oh, come on, say, come on, praise him like you're grateful. Praise him like you're grateful. Praise him like you're grateful. Last time around, say, be grateful. If God has done anything for you, show some sign. Be grateful. Yeah. God, I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much, Jesus. I'm grateful. Oh God, we're finished. We're finished. But can you give him a grateful praise in this house? Say, oh, say, now, I don't know if you heard what they're saying. I need you to get this in your spirit. Some of y'all got some heavy stuff, but get this in your spirit. Tell them, fall. Now that's a promise. That's a promise. He told Isaiah, I'll go before you and make your crooked ways straight. God has already made a path for you. Somebody get it in your spirit. I'm grateful. Come on and praise him. Come on and praise him.